there's that really very understandable and quite difficult thing around compassion fatigue. And we all expect, but certainly people with caring responsibilities, they have to give so much of themselves. And it sadly, within our society, those sort of caring roles are really undervalued. When I get to be 70, which is in 18 years' time, I'm going to have to listen to 1970s disco. That is going to be or Madonna. Madonna came out when I was about 9 years old, 10 years old. That's going to be the music that I feel is my childhood music. So I think we've got to be really careful when we say, oh yeah, the old classic.
Hello, I am Luca, the co-founder of the Living Care Company, and welcome Daniel from Chroma. Thanks for
very
joining
much.
us.
Great to be here.
Daniel, could you tell us a bit about yourself and what your role at Chroma and what is it that Chroma does and seeks to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a father of two. I'm a music therapist. I qualified in 2002, so 22 years ago, which is quite a long time, and co-founder of Chroma. We work around the country across the health, education, and social care sectors. So the work that we do with some of your clients, potentially people with brain injuries, catastrophic injuries, that's probably 50% of our work. And then we also have got a large presence supporting kids and adults up to the age of 25 who've come through the foster care sector and have gone on to be adopted. So we're the largest provider of creative arts therapies to adoptive children and young people in the UK, funded through the Department for Education. And we work then extensively in schools. So we do an awful lot of stuff. The wonderful, massive jigsaw puzzle, all about quality at scale. Because I think scale is really easy. You just take on tons of people and don't really care what they do. And quality is also easy because you find one amazing therapist and you've done it. But we're really excited by and passionate about that sort of moving target of the highest quality at the greatest scale. So that's what keeps me, not necessarily keeps me awake at night, but certainly keeps me going in the morning, getting up and wow, let's go on and do this more. So that's what we're about. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet, what society, culture, religion, background, economic situation you find yourself in. If, for example, and it's a very well used example, if you're listening to music with a strong rhythmic beat, strong pulse, our bodies move. We either nod our heads, tap our toes, we dance. So I think it's massively built into who we are as human beings. And I think within music therapy and clinical specialism called neurologic music therapy, which we use a lot, we're taking the brain's innate automatic responsiveness to music, and then we're focusing the link, for example, between rhythm and movement. We're focusing that down into a treatment pathway, into a treatment modality to help someone walk, to help someone get motor timing for fine motor control, all those sort of things. So say it's always, for us, it's about the non-musical outcome in their daily life. That's what we're trying to work with. We're always thinking about is what is the non-musical goal? What's the goal outside the room? What's going to make a difference around the breakfast table? What's going to make a difference to them on the school bus or whatever it happens to be? And changes in a person's tolerance around change, changes in how they express themselves, changes in their ability to have a concentration span. Those are global gains. So if we can make those or embed those changes within the course of 3 or 4 months of music therapy, we start to see those changes happening in the life outside of the therapy room. And that's where the change needs to happen. It's great to see it in the therapy room, but that's not really the point. We want to be able to embed that change in the person's everyday life because that's where they need it to happen.
Really interesting.
Music's, it's an amazing thing that I think that we should all be accessing, whether it's, and I was thinking about the work that you guys do, whether that is to help your team, your carers at the end of the day, sometimes to relax. There's that really very understandable and quite difficult thing around compassion fatigue. And we all expect, but certainly people with caring responsibilities, they have to give so much of themselves. And it, sadly, within our society, those sort of caring roles are really undervalued, yet they are terrifically important. It's almost like the thing that lubricates everything else. Being cared for is, again, a really innate human need. So being able to help people to understand it's not just sticking on some music to pass the time, but actually it can help you relax. If you choose music that is slow in tempo and has got long notes, that is going to bring your heart rate down. It's going to help you to exhale and literally, I'm going to sigh the day out. Wow, that's been a big old day, hasn't it? And then we can use it to enliven ourselves and dance and shake it off. And whether you're by yourself or with people, start to energize yourself. So I think in so many situations, we can use music for those emotional goals, those enjoyable moments. And clearly when we're with people, music is an amazing social lubricant. It brings us together, again, regardless of who you are, where you live, what sexuality you are, what culture, religion. It's a really innate part of being a human being, I think.
What about the drama therapy that you do with your clients? What does it look like, and what are you seeking to achieve there as well?
I think drama therapy is really amazing, actually. I think it's often the scope of it is unrealized. And obviously, we've been providing it for 11 years. We definitely get a sense of what it can do, but it can really go from very sensory play, working in a sandpit, that sort of with gloop or fabrics, and really working with a patient who's got very sensory needs, all the way through to story, narrative, character. We can work with someone, as I say, very much around those sensory tactile ways of processing, helping to build back again after an injury, after a bad life experience really early on in their lives. But then we can also work with VOC rehab therapists, vocational rehabilitation therapists, think about return to work, and helping people they may have had job interviews, for example, in the past, but now they may feel, wow, I've got a brain injury. It may be visible. I may have a prosthetic limb on. I may look different, certainly probably feel different. So going to try and have a job interview or return to some sort of meaningful volunteering or whatever, that can be really quite frightening. So again, within the therapy space, we can practice and role play what a job interview might be like. So there's the direct eye contact. Your hands are going to be hot and sweaty. You're going to have questions asked, and you have to come up with an answer. So we can rehearse all of those things 10, 20 times within the drama therapy session, preparing them for going into the real world to have that actual job interview at Sainsbury's or at the bank or whoever knows where, just so they can say, oh yeah, you know what, I can do this because I've practiced. And I think that has a real life, real world implication, let alone positive financial impact, especially on court cases, because if you can get someone back into meaningful employment or meaningful volunteering, that has a financial impact on the claim, let alone what they feel, which is obviously the most important thing, that they feel that they are starting to be a contribution again to the community that they live and work in.
Really? You ever work with dementia or care homes where I think it's fairly well known that's playing songs from someone's youth, and even if someone might not have the ability to remember or generate the right words, they can remember the lyrics of the song from years and years ago. Is that something that you ever do?
Yes, absolutely. And we're just starting to work with a couple of large national care home providers at this stage, helping to write their dementia care strategy from a music therapy point of view. And then next year we'll be delivering both one-to-one and group sessions, but also working with their care teams to enable and empower carers to use music through the day so that they can help people with dementia, with Alzheimer's, stay in that sort of normal window of tolerance. Sometimes it doesn't take much to overstimulate someone with dementia. They can get very hyper aroused, and then obviously they drop and they get very under aroused. And the horrible classic thing of people sitting in an armchair, completely blank faced, not really paying attention to what's going on, they're under aroused. So using music to keep people in that window of tolerance. As a profession, music therapy in dementia is massively researched. There's a number of international studies at RCT level, so randomized control trials at the moment. And interestingly, you know, what you were saying, Luca, about memories, somebody can still sing a song, they can still move to music that they used to move. And again, it's because those memories are stored in parts of the brain that are unaffected by the progression of the dementia or the Alzheimer's. So it's not magic, just the music is stimulating a healthy part of the brain that hasn't fallen apart. I think it's amazing. But again, if we think sensibly about it, we're using music to stimulate healthy parts of the brain. That's why they can suddenly sing. They can't talk because the dementia has taken away, has diminished that aspect of their neural functioning. But the bit that holds words linked to melodies is still really strong and really vibrant. So that's why that happens.
Obviously, maybe, but for older people, singing the old classics might actually be beneficial to do it in groups. But do you do group as well as individual sessions?
Yeah, so most of our work within the medico-legal sector is individual because we're instructed to work with the injured person. We do lots of work supporting families and the injured person. So again, we have a very sort of holistic view. The family has also gone through a catastrophic change of life. In schools, it's a huge mix of groups and individuals. And I think in care homes, the old classics are actually changing because someone who is 70 now, actually they're listening to 1950s music. So if you're putting on 1930s music, as we may have done when I started qualifying 20 odd years ago, they're like, I don't know any music from the 1930s. When I get to be 70, which is in 18 years' time, I'm going to have to listen to 1970s disco. That is going to be or Madonna. Madonna came out when I was about 9 years old, 10 years old. That's going to be the music that I feel is my childhood music. So I think we've got to be really careful when we say, oh, yeah, the old classic, because
from their
from their era.
I certainly remember as a primary school child learning the classics of people who were about 70 or 80, and then we went to an old folks home and sang those songs. That was like My Old Man Said Follow the Man.
Yeah, totally.
And various other sort of songs of that era. So I actually know those songs. So when I'm in an old folks home, I'll be happy to have the songs of the 1930s and 40s songs from me because of
exactly. But that and you've just identified it. It's not just that we throw music at people. It's let's see what is personal to you. For you, it's actually going back to the 1930s, which is probably 50 years from where you should be when you're old. But it's also very much about culture and those sort of things. As I said earlier, I think human responsiveness to music is totally inbuilt and is one of our fundamental parts of being a human. But actually, the music that connects to us as a individual person is about where we've grown up, our culture, our religion, if we have a religious beliefs, those sorts of things. So it works in the same way, but we just need to personalize that medicine. It's a bit like, what they're looking at the moment in terms of those really personalized drugs that sort of, you're going to take antibiotics that sort of are linked to your DNA and they're sort of very, very bespoke. We've got that capacity within music. We've put it for years and years. We can really tailor that piece of music to fit that person's need and still deliver the rhythmic thing for the movement or the melody to assist speech and language acquisition or anticipation to help with executive function. I are both screaming for what has to come next. And our brains are thinking, oh my God, please, 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 can we have bump, bump? There we are. I've stretched your attention span through that gap. It's all good.
I held myself back from doing the bump bump there.
But we both knew it had to come. That's the great thing around those things that's so deeply within us through childhood experiences, through growing up, no matter which culture, religion, country, whatever we come from, those things are real, can be accessed for treatment modality.
When you're working with clients, obviously you mentioned family and obviously the carers, it's helpful if they're brought into the whole picture, but how do you work with carers to get the best sort of result from what you do and how you support carers potentially in that process?
Absolutely. I think starting to always include them in session if the client's happy for that. Sometimes obviously clients want to work not confidentially but privately, but including carers in the thinking about what we do, helping share with them this piece of music in the session really seems to slow down the breathing rate and he looks like he has some really good physical relaxation. So potentially put this music on at bedtime because it will create the same physical, psychological, physiological response. So things like that can be a very helpful way of doing it. We also have a partnership with a holiday company that specializes in accessible travel and can make all the arrangements so that carers, clients can go and have holidays like the rest of us without having to worry, oh my God, I need a wheelchair here. I don't want to be on the bus out of the airport. I need a taxi. It needs to be big and this, that, and the other. So that's through not just travel. Again, it's on our website and things like that. But I think taking away some of those stresses and concerns from carers and let us help you. You are already helping that person massively. So let us help you, I think, is a strong message. But yeah, getting them to reflect on how they might use music. How do you use music to help relax? How could you use drawing or using clay or wherever it happens to be to, again, to express yourself? And some things work for some people, some things work for others, but it's just engaging them in that sense of the creativity that can help to, I don't want to say alleviate some of the mundane aspects of the caring role. Being a parent is quite mundane sometimes, especially in the early years, you're going through the same old things. So the ways in which you may be able to use singing with your clients at certain times of the day, not because you've got an amazing voice and you're going to rip it out like Adele, but it just creates a bit of eye contact or a bit of a giggle or a bit of, oh, this is quite lighthearted. And actually, quality of life changes. People think, oh, that's really nice, actually. And maybe the client sings a little bit and it just changes the vibe in the air, changes the atmosphere for the better.
It's been brilliant to find out everything that you're up to, Daniel. It's a lot. And so,
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hope to see you soon and speak to you soon.
Indeed. Thanks so much, Luca.
Thank you.
Take care.